Well, as the Russian advance continues, I'm joined by Air Marshal Edward Stringer to analyse the situation on the ground. Thanks for being with us, Air Marshal. Now, in the last few hours, we've seen some extraordinary video being released of the Belarusian President, Alexander Lukashenko, seeming to give away the entire invasion plan.
Yes, he seems to be briefing the war plan here. And what you see with these four regions, that's the four regional commands. That's the command structure of the Ukrainian armed forces. You'd expect to see that on a map they'd be briefing.
But interestingly, on that map, we do have an area that had some arrows going towards it. And it's this area here, isn't it, on the Ukrainian-Moldova border. Why is that area of interest that shows that Russian forces may be moving towards there?
Well, we don't see any activity there at the moment, but on his map, you could see clearly a thrust from the sea up towards Moldova, and it looked like they'd blocked out the entire area of Transnistria, that disputed area between Moldova and Ukraine.
Now, of course, there are a number of cities that are coming under attack by the Russian forces. This here shows us exactly the Russian armoured column that we understand is 40 kilometres long, making its way towards Kiev. Now, we've got a satellite image of this column. Many people will be wondering, when they look at a picture like this, as you can see, there are trucks arrayed along the road, sometimes 3 abreast. Why don't the Ukrainians just bomb that?
Well, we don't really know what the state of the Ukrainian Air Force is at the moment. We don't know what its reserves of air-to-ground munitions are. But we must imagine, actually, that they will be husbanding that Air Force for more vital operations to protect those capital cities where government currently exists.
Now, that's the fight for Kiev potentially coming in the coming days, but also there are assaults occurring around Kherson and Mariupol, Mariupol being shelled from the sea, we think. Why are these two cities so important?
They are both very significant ports on the Black Sea, Sea of Azov, but they're also key nodes on that land corridor just south of the Dnieper River that goes up from Crimea, links it through Donbass into Russia. And Kherson itself is the administrative centre of the Kherson Oblast, the Kherson region.
Now, in the past 24 hours and for the past few days, there have been many calls for a NATO-enforced no-fly zone across Ukraine to try and stop Russian air power. Is that going to happen?
I suspect not. All the Western politicians have been very keen from the start of this war to point out that NATO forces won't be deployed on the ground, and NATO forces in the air are still NATO forces if they're engaging Russian aircraft. At that point, you do have a war of NATO against Russia, and that sort of confrontation, as we all know, could be the trigger for World War III, and that's something that nobody wants.